Well, the home stretch of the regular season continues for the Danbury Hat-Tricks as they welcome in the Port Huron Prowlers for 2 more games at the Danbury Ice Arena this weekend, following a 7-point weekend with 2 wins against Watertown and 1 against Port Huron. I'm Wyatt Kopelman here with the general manager of the Hat-Tricks, Matt Voity, as we're delighted to have you aboard here for episode 18 of Hat-Tricks Weekly inside the Hat-Tricks Lounge. Matt, how are you?
Good.
So the Hat-Tricks, they get 2 wins at Watertown, and they win after regulation for the first time this season against the Wolves on the road, that is. What were some of your biggest observations, particularly from Sunday's shootout win?
I think we were able to not let it get away from us. We were tired. They were tired. I thought the first period was pretty good. I think the second period we took some penalties. The fatigue started to show, but third period we came out with a little bit more energy, clawed our way back into it. I thought we did a pretty good job in overtime, and fortunately in the shootout we were able to get more than they did, and it worked out well.
You mentioned that the energy restored a little bit for this group in the third period. What was the message going into that third period against a familiar Watertown team that you had been used to playing on that kind of ice this season?
I think we all kind of felt like, especially from the night before, but I think the stretch we've had the last 6 to 8 weeks, I think we truly had confidence in ourselves in the third period. I think it was all, foxhole mentality. Just get in there, don't let your friend, don't let your buddy down, don't let your teammate down, do the right things the right way, and you'll get rewarded.
Van Durkin, he had the hat trick on Friday, and then on Saturday he had the game-winning goal in the shootout. He, after the game, actually said he had no words to describe that effort he had in the shootout. What do you believe he's done so well to put himself in the position to lead this club this year?
I think Gleb is just he's got an unbelievable hockey IQ. There's a lot of things that he does that you don't have to teach, you don't have to go over on video, he just does them. It's just his habit. I think for a little bit there, he got in a habit of trying to stick handle at the line instead of just making the simple play. And I think really the last 4 weeks, he's really just gone to that simple play, and I think it's shown on the scoreboard. He's finding quiet ice. He's getting the puck off quick. He's, making the right decisions at the line to get the offense started. So, every game he's learning, every game he's making little distinctions, and in April it's gonna be great to see where he's at.
Yeah, there's 6 weeks left in the regular season, and as mentioned, 16 games left in the regular season. What are some of the similar senses or emotions like from this team after it had its 12th comeback win from the season and gets a chance to host Port Huron again this weekend?
I think we're just feeling good. I think there's probably a little more belief in this group. It's a much different roster than we had on what was it, October 15th?
October 18th. Against Motor City, yeah.
Yeah, it's a much different roster, and it's a roster with a lot more experience that's gone through some tough times, and I think we've learned from them. I think we understand that hey, like, we got to show up ready to play. And nobody really cares if we're tired. Nobody cares what we did the night before. We have to show up ready to play that day. And, if we have that mentality, we're going to get rewarded. I think sometimes with young players and even with older players, it's easy to get into that kind of mindset, well, I'm tired and we did this and we did that. And not understanding that when you win, you have to start from square one the next day. But I think these guys get it. Like, you're going to get rewarded. We have that kind of team that, we can start back at square one, and no matter what happens, we're going to be fine. We're more than likely going to come out on the right end of it.
And you mentioned the importance of pushing through fatigue and knowing that there is another day to keep fighting for points. Certainly happened this weekend as you got 2 points from Port Huron on Saturday, claw back from the 3-goal deficit, then the next day you climb back from a 2-goal deficit. How do you see your team continue to pick each other up when you're down by 2-3 goals going to the third period?
I think it's definitely where we're strong. I think it's some of our veterans. Our veterans are really stepping up. Johnny steps up all the time in those situations. Beller, when Chase is with us, he definitely does it. I think our goalie, both our goalies, Frankie shut the door after the third goal. MC played a pretty strong third period, except for that funny bounce, which I can't kill him on. And we talked about it. I walked in there on Tuesday and said, hey, what did we learn from this weekend? And one of the things that they said that stuck out to me was there wasn't any complaining or bitching and, or getting on each other. There wasn't any negativity. We just came together, realized that, the job we had to do. We didn't let the mistakes or let the first period or second period linger with us to where it was like you're in quicksand and now you're just spinning your wheels and you're going nowhere. We just remembered who we were, remembered what got us there, and then we doubled down on it and we get rewarded.
And you have been with this Hat Tricks program since its inception in 2019. You've seen it win a cup. You've worked with a lot of different individuals. You've worked with different goalies, of course, as you mentioned, how the goalies certainly did a lot to get this team points this weekend. How do you view the chemistry of this group as it's only 16 games away from making a playoff push?
I think it's developed and evolved. You're always asking yourself that question as a head coach and a GM is what's the energy of the room? And I think the things that I've, the feedback I've gotten and the things that I've seen is that it truly is, I think, a family again. We're certainly really good friends. I think everyone kind of hangs out together. There's not a whole lot of, separate kind of groups. And even the guy, if there are guys that are kind of on their own, which is fine. When they come to the building, everyone's together and everyone's supportive and everyone's genuinely cares about each other. I think that'll continue to develop, and especially now with the spring, and there's actually more activities the guys can do together. It's only going to get stronger. I noticed that when we won in 22-23 in the spring, it actually guys started to get a little bit tighter, a little bit closer. Some of that's just the momentum of being together for 4 or 5 months.
Defensively, this group held Watertown, which averages nearly 4.5 goals per game this season, to just 5 goals on the weekend. How do you believe that can carry into this weekend, where you hope the defense can certainly give the offense a bit of a break?
Well, our defense has developed and evolved over the season, thankfully. I think it's just understanding. For us, I feel it's just understanding what another team's trying to do against us and not getting distracted by other things, right? To kind of put that really simply, I'm not trying to make it, something simple sound genius. But I think, when you play this game, it's easy to kind of lose focus of, okay, this is the game plan when you're in that moment on the ice. And I think we've done a good job of recognizing, okay, this is their game plan, this is what they want to do, this is how we're going to thwart it, this is what we want to do against them. And it's a lot more clear for these guys now. I think it's a lot more clear in their heads when they go on the ice for a game. And I think it's starting to show, more and more as the weeks go on here.
And I remember you had mentioned probably before the HC Venom series, it was before the 3-game series against HC Venom, how important the forecheck is into this team's defensive approach, which is defending by attacking. How vital have you assessed the role of the forecheck in the last 10 games since?
I think it's huge. I think if you watch our games, it bears out. When we're working consistently above the puck, in our O zone, so we get a shot or a chance, and now we're working back above their D and their forwards. We're a very difficult team to handle. I think when any team does that, they're difficult to handle. But you have to comprise the roster of guys that are really good at that. And I think we have a roster full of guys that understand that, buy into that. Now, are you always going to be able to do that? No. It's a fast-moving game, but when you have guys committed to it, it makes you so difficult to play against. It makes your neutral zone better. It makes your D better. You're going to get guys that, cough up the puck. You're going to get more chances, and just allows you, like you'd rather be any hockey player wants to be on the offense, not on the defense, right? So it just allows you to spend more time in that offensive zone, which is always obviously a good thing.
How do you believe your team's communication skills have developed, particularly when it's on the forecheck and trying to pressure a certain group as an opponent that you want to be able to put up goals on in a pretty quick pace?
I think it's gotten better. I think, honestly, when we got tired, it got worse, which, I get it, right? When you're tired, something's going to fail, something's going to give her when you're that tired. I think it's, when we're fresh or when we're not on the back end of a 3-3, it's been really good, right? And I think that's one of the things, one of the lessons we learned is, hey, when we're tired, this is kind of the characteristic of what happens and what leads to failures. And now we realize, hey, so I expect the communication to continue to improve and even get stronger off of what happened this last weekend.
You have a few days to rest before hosting Port for 2 games this weekend here at the DIA. How are the energy levels in practice right now as you have a few days just to hit the reset button? Not entirely, but of course just make sure you're really revved up to go and have that consistent carry the weight mentality for 60 minutes in each of those 2 games.
I think it's been good. I thought today was really good. I think you have to manage practice at this time of the year, and you don't want to be out there for an hour and a half. So you got to really know what you want to get done and be on it and be pinpointing what you're doing. But these guys, I think the energy today was really good. I think the energy yesterday was really good. So that's a really good sign to see given the travel challenges we had last week.
And you still have a couple more trips on the road to the northern parts of the division with Binghamton coming up. You also have another trip to Watertown. So it seems like the rest will certainly benefit this team. It certainly seems like the wins, 14 the last 18, has the morale high in the locker room. Frankie McClendon, he had 2 weeks of rest before his start on Sunday against Watertown. He won for the 4th straight time. What do you believe he did well to kind of do well, or I guess to execute when he needed to, and of course preserve 3 straight shootout attempts in that shootout?
I think he made some ridiculous saves. He made a couple saves right off the bat, and thankfully, he's a pro. He gets it. 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off, you got to be ready to play. You got to be ready to do your job, and he was ready to do it. We went down in a second. And, I actually was talking to him about it today, and where he's matured as a player is, fine, 3 goals, maybe 1, you're kind of wanting back, but then you shut the door at 3, right? Like, any good goalie at some point is going to let up 3 or 4 goals. And it's what you do after that, right? So, if it's 3 or 4 goals in a game or 5 goals, what do you do the next start? If it's 3 goals in the first, do you shut the door to the rest of the way? He shut the door in the third period and in overtime in the shootout, and you know what? Like kudos to him. He's worked hard at it. I think his mental game is really key for him. I think technically he has the right framework. I think his execution is generally on point. For him, it's just more the mental game and staying prepared and not letting things distract him or knock him off focus.
Are there any particular characteristics that you've seen from him in the last 2 starts? I know I mentioned that he had won 4 straight, but are there any particular characteristics that you see him with now as opposed to earlier in the season?
I think he's a little more calm. I think he's finding pucks better. Some of the saves he made on Sunday, I think he made one from his butt. I think he made there's a couple. I just don't know how he made it, but he found the puck. And, when you're finding the puck like that as a goalie, you're going to make a lot of saves, and you're on your A game. So usually when I see a goalie doing that, I'm just kind of like, leave them alone, let them do their thing, because they're in the groove. So I think that's the biggest key. I don't think he's not letting up any second chances off of rebounds. I think some of the bad angle stuff he's gotten sorted out. He's got a little more organized in how he wants to attack, plays from the low angle or bad angle, and I think it's starting to really come together for him.
16 games left in the regular season. The mentality for this team seems to be one series at a time, keep finding ways to pick up the most possible points each weekend. This team got 7 of 9 this weekend. It got 2 shootout wins on Saturday and Sunday, and then picked up a regulation win on Friday. How do you keep this team focused on this weekend only with the regular season beginning to dwindle?
I think just, understanding where we are in the standings and where Port Huron and Watertown is, and, whatever we've done is great. Great job so far, but we got to keep going. We got 6 more weeks, and, we have that goal of clinching second place and having that first round bye, and that's it. So eyes are forward, eyes are up, and we're looking at the next game.
All right, so the Hat Tricks, they're looking to capture 6 points against a very familiar opponent in the Port Huron Prowlers, where they've already faced 3 times in the last 4 after this weekend. Those 2 games will be here at the Danbury Ice Arena. Matt, as always, a Hat Tricks weekly tradition. How does this team pick up 6 points this weekend? What's the checklist?
We've got to stay connected in all 3 zones and really consistently have our forecheck engaged.
Forecheck engaged, staying consistent in all 3 zones. The Hat Tricks, they take on the Prowlers on Friday and Saturday. Puck drop set for 7:30 on Friday. You can watch it on the Hat Tricks Digital Network and also attend here at the DIA. Matt, thanks for always joining here in the Extras Lounge.
Thanks, Wyatt.